This is everything you need to know to fly United Airlines. And what do I know about flying United Airlines? Well, I have flown over 1 million miles on United, so over this time I've learned a few essential tips, tricks, and hacks that I want to share with you today, including everything from how to get the best fares to how to handle unexpected travel hiccups on United. The first thing you need to know about United, just a little background about this airline before we get into all the detailed things about hubs and tickets and fare classes and entertainment and food and travel rewards. We're getting all there, but we're going to start with just a little bit about the airline. United Airlines is the world's biggest airline with over 1,000 planes in its fleet. And from the USA, the United States of America, United Airlines serves the most international destinations. Now, what's interesting about that is within the USA, United actually doesn't have the largest domestic route network. They're only about third or fourth, depending upon how you count it. But to or from the USA, United has the most routes. United also has the most wide-body aircraft of any North American passenger airline, and they're particularly strong from the USA to Asia, which is definitely a route that I enjoy flying on United. All right, the second thing you should know about United Airlines are United's major hubs. And as we take a look at this map over here, you can see that they have 7 major hubs. And starting over here on the West Coast, if we start from Los Angeles, this is where I fly out of the most. Los Angeles is one of their great gateways to the Pacific, so a lot of Asia flights out of Los Angeles. A great part about Los Angeles or LAX Airport is the weather in Los Angeles. Pretty good all year round, and so you are rarely going to run into weather-related delays if you're coming or going or connecting through LAX Airport. That being said, LAX is generally not most people's favorite airport. On the West Coast, people tend to enjoy San Francisco International Airport more. It is a nicer airport just to kind of hang out in. The restaurants, shops generally have a little bit of a nicer vibe to them. United definitely pours emphasis into San Francisco as their flagship gateway to Asia. However, the problem with flying through San Francisco, it is prone to fog delays. There's often bad weather and fog in San Francisco Airport. And so if you are connecting through San Francisco on your way to Asia, I would allocate at least 3 hours for that connection in the event that your incoming flight is delayed by fog. At San Francisco, they tend to delay the smaller planes more than the bigger planes. So coming internationally to San Francisco, you are less likely to have a delay coming internationally and landing in San Francisco. Big plane, they will prioritize that one. But the little planes that are connecting from other parts of North America, those tend to be the ones that get delayed when they have bad weather. Working our way into the middle of the country, Denver is United's fastest growing airport. Good weather in the summertime in Denver. You do have to beware of the winter snowstorms in Denver, though. In Houston, in Texas, big hub there. That used to be a former Continental hub when United merged with Continental. Houston, the thing you want to avoid there, good in the winter, bad in the summer, particularly in the afternoon. Texas gets a lot of thunderstorms. Working our way into the country here, Chicago is another one of United's big hubs. Really, probably their major international hub that you can go almost anywhere from Chicago. Chicago competes with Denver as United's busiest or biggest hub. They kind of go back and forth year to year. By the way, if you're wondering what are the biggest airports in the USA, Chicago is the 3rd biggest airport in the USA. Atlanta, if we measure this by flights or passengers, Atlanta is number 1, home of Delta Airlines, and Dallas-Fort Worth in Texas is number 2, home of American Airlines. Beware of the snow in Chicago. It can get really cold and snowy there. Working our way out east, we get Washington, D.C., which has the strange acronym of IAD. Huh. How do we get that from Washington, D.C.? International Airport Dulles. That's where you get to it. It is often known as Washington Dulles Airport. It is a great hub for the eastern United States. Flights to Europe Me personally, if I am connecting to Europe and I can't get a Europe flight out of LAX, then I will generally try to connect through Washington Dulles Airport. The other option for a lot of United's flights to Europe is going to be Newark. Newark is like the real big hub for the northeastern United States. It's another former continental hub. The problem with Newark Airport, the New York City airspace is often really congested, and so Newark is often prone to significant flight delays just due to all of the air traffic congestion in the region. Okay, the third thing to know about United is where do they fly out of those hubs or out of all the other places they serve. And so if we make this one bigger, this is their domestic route network within the USA. You can see they cover they cover a lot of it, as you would imagine they would. Now, if we look into where they go into Asia and the Pacific, United, it definitely of the big three American carriers, Delta, American, or United. United serves the most destinations in the Pacific. Multiple flights a day to places like Tokyo, Bangkok, multiple flights a day to Sydney. Actually, United just announced they have a flight to Adelaide in South Australia. So that's cool. United also has significant routes through Latin America. You'll find a lot of the Latin America flights go out of Houston. So if you're going to Latin America, likely you'll be connecting through the Houston hub down in the south. And then finally, looking at United's route map into Europe and then into Africa right there. Okay. The fourth thing you need to know is about finding cheap tickets. And so actually, before I get into this thing to talk about the fare classes, I want to bring this up and tell you the best way to find cheap tickets. So I'm right here on United's website, and on United's website, I've put in this, I'm going from LAX to London Heathrow. I've pegged in some dates, and then instead of just clicking find flights, what I do here is I click this flexible date option, and well, then it changed my dates because that doesn't give you specific dates. In that case, you pick like a month, and then you say how long you want to go. So let's say I want to go in June, and I want to go for 7 days. And then in that case, it's going to come back with a fare calendar, and it's going to give you the rough prices on those different days, so you can see roughly when the cheapest or the most expensive days to fly are. This is one that takes a little bit of time to run because you can see it's kind of running a big thing, but you can see if you were going on June 28th, it'd be like $1,000. And if you're going these first 3 days of June, flights are cheapest at $796. If you just want nonstop flights, then you can check that box and you can say update the calendar, and you can see it's a little more expensive if you want the nonstop flight, but you can see it's even more expensive on this day if all you want is the nonstop flight. The other option for looking at it is what they call this plus or minus 3-day matrix. And so this is one where you can search for a specific date, like this one. You can say, hey, June 8th, it's cheap right here. But you can see if I just depart is on the top and return is here. So if I depart on June 1st and return on June 8th, it's $800. But if I depart on June 1st and return June 7th, then it's going to be $1,300. And then you can click on any of those and it'll bring you back all of the different fares here. Okay, so now as we're looking at these, okay, by the way, we're going to come back and look at these fares in the moment. The other place I want to tell you, though, to look for cheap fares on United is actually not United's own website, but it's actually on Google Flights. So you can type in flights.google.com, and that will get you here to Google Flights. You can say, hey, where you're going from and where you're going to. And let's say you don't know a specific place, but maybe you just want to go to Hawaii. And so you can type in Hawaii, you pick some dates, and then we should maybe pick, let's pick June too, because we were just talking about June. So let's keep talking about June, and then we hit explore. And it's gonna come back and it's gonna say, hey, these are the prices of flights in general from LAX to Hawaii, but we're interested in flying on United. And so you can come in here and you can filter it by Star Alliance, which is the general alliance carrier that United is a part of. And because if you're flying from LAX, that's who you're going to get in the Star Alliance. You're going to get United. Then you can see these are the cheapest United flights to get to those islands. Pretty inexpensive to go from LAX to the big island right here. When you're doing it in this kind of general view to a place, you can only pick the alliances. But if you pick a specific place like Maui, it gives me that one. I can click view flights. When you go here in like this detailed list of things, then you can actually pick a whole bunch of different things. Back in this filter of airlines, we can cancel out with the Star Alliance. You can clear all of them if you, well, select all airlines, unselect all airlines, and then you can just select United, and then it will just come back with what the United flights cost to that destination. Sometimes I find the Google flight search engine will bring me back different results than what the United search engine does. And they say here, like Google will also give you these little tips here to be like, hey, for $318, you can go June 4th to June 11th. So it gives you this kind of like matrix here, something like that. And so that's pretty good. Where did it go? Where is it? How come when I click on it, it's not there? Probably because when I click on it, it's not considering just United flights. But if I go here, June 3rd to June 9th, 307, $298. If I go June 4th to June 9th. So there you go. Short trip, but you can go for $300 round trip from LAX to the Big Island. Okay, now I want to talk about the fare classes at United. And United has these. There's a few different set of fare classes that you can book into when you're booking a United flight. And they differ depending upon whether the flight is a long-haul international flight or whether it's a domestic flight. And then it also depends on how many cabins they actually have on that airplane. But if we look at United on one of their flagship routes, LAX to London Heathrow, which goes on the Boeing 787 Dreamliner, which is one of my favorite aircraft to fly on United. I really like the Dreamliner. Like if I see a Dreamliner and I see other planes on the same route, I'm absolutely going to try to get that Dreamliner. Their most restrictive fare is the basic economy fare. I'm going to tell you what you get with that in a moment. Most people will probably want to get the economy fare because this basic economy one is pretty restrictive. If you think you're going to make a lot of changes to your flights, you can get the fully refundable economy ticket. If you want to get a bit of a fancier seat, you can get premium economy. Note that premium economy is different than economy plus. In United, they have extra legroom seats, and those are the economy plus seats, but premium economy are actually kind of like a domestic first class seat, except on an international flight. They're wider, they generally have more legroom, they generally give you better amenities, they give you better food, and then United no longer has international business class, they just call it business. And you can see down here, sometimes they call it United Polaris Business. Polaris Business is basically their code name for a lie-flat international business seat. Sometimes you will even see it applied to domestic routes. If you're going like cross-country, LAX to Newark, or San Francisco to Newark, you will often see them selling the similar Polaris Business class. That means it's a lie-flat ticket. Now, if we search like LAX to maybe Miami, Miami, Florida, and we click update, we're going to see a different set of fare classes that come back because the planes are different. They're not configured internationally. They don't have many classes. People don't need to sleep on them. And so what you see comes back for the Miami flight is basic economy, regular economy, fully refundable economy. These same three come back. But then we get this thing called Economy Plus. So Economy Plus are extra legroom economy seats. It's an economy seat, except you have more legroom. That is available on the Dreamliner as well. It just doesn't come up as a ticket to buy. Instead, you would buy the economy ticket, and then you would pay more for an extra legroom seat when you're selecting your seats. That's how you would get them there. And then the business first, they call it business first because it is not a lie flat seat like on the international thing. It is just kind of a big comfy sofa recliner seat. It's also nice on United. You can click if you want like details of what you can get. You can get, like, you see here, we get like meals for purchase. We get a meal served to us that we don't have to purchase in first class. And on this shorter flight, the flight that's from Houston to Texas, they only have snacks. So they don't have meals, they have snacks. We'll talk about the food and Premier qualifying points and all that stuff in a bit. I also really like, when I'm booking flights, to check this little link right here. So this is a pro tip, to check the on-time performance for flights. And so you can see this one's pretty good, like 93% of the time it's on time, 6% of the time it's canceled. That's interesting. But if we look at, let's look at here, this LAX to San Francisco, and let's click on this on-time performance. This one's actually pretty good on time, but you can see that it tells you it's a risky connection because it's a connection of 47 minutes. So do pay attention to that. Just because they let you book it doesn't mean you actually should. Okay. So now that you know all about the different fare classes and the different types of tickets, I want to get into checking in. Do you really need to check in? Do you need online check-in? Why am I still in the corner? I don't need me in the corner anymore. Go away, Chris, in the corner. Okay, go away, Chris, in the corner. But before I start talking about check-in, the experience at the airport, and luggage, and food, and all that stuff, I do want to hit a few comments from the chat since I am recording this as a live stream. Henry, thank you for your support, Henry. Henry says, Chris, I hope your evening is going well. Hope you can make a guide for other airlines, including international ones. Happy travels. Thanks, Chris. Henry, thank you for the suggestion. Henry, it's great to see you at TravelCon in Tucson a couple weeks ago, and thank you for that suggestion. The Wu-Tang Life says, is it true you should search your flights in incognito on Google so that they can't track you and charge you more for airline tickets? I feel like that's I don't know if I'll say it's an urban legend, but there are potentially chances where incognito mode could offer you different fares. I think you shouldn't always only search on incognito mode, because sometimes if, like, say you're on United and you're a Mileageplus award member and you have the Mileageplus credit card and you're searching for award tickets, there will actually be different availability to you as an elite member. So I would suggest that you search both ways. Search logged in, and then you can do another search in incognito mode to see if you get prices that come back different. Points Traveler says, would I recommend using the United website to search for awards tickets for partner airlines? It's pretty good, but it doesn't bring up all of them. I think one of the best ones for partner award search in Star Alliance is the ANA website. The ANA actually brings back pretty good partner award inventory too. Jonathan says, what do you think of United food on international flights compared to that of international airlines? Well, I guess international airlines is really broad, but if I compare United food internationally to European carrier food, I think United Airlines has better food. To me, maybe I'm just used to it because it's more American palate food. But if I compare United to the Asian airlines like ANA, Singapore Airlines, those blow United away in the food department. They absolutely do. Alfredo Solo Travel says, I saw you last Sunday at Whole Foods with your family. I worked there. Going to say hi, but I was really busy. Well, Alfredo Solo, thank you for saying hi now. Indeed, we were at whole paycheck, is that what they call it? All right, we do enjoy visiting Whole Foods. Okay, let's go ahead and now talk about checking in. And a question that I often get is, Chris, do you really need to check in before your flight? Is that important, or should you just check in when you get to the airport? United Airlines will allow you to check in up to 24 hours before your departure. And if you're doing that, then you're going to be checking in online. I would absolutely encourage you to check in online if you are at a place where you can, because you have a computer and you have internet access or a phone or those sorts of things. Why? Well, first of all, it will tell you if you have any issues. Like, there might be an issue related to checking in, like because they don't have a visa for you, or they don't have something, or you're going to get a 4S boarding pass, which means you get special screening or something like that. You'll sort of find that out through the online check-in process. It won't tell you specifically probably what your issue is, but it'll come and be like, oh, there's an error. You can't use online check-in. In that case, you should plan to allocate additional time when you get to the airport. The other reason why you want to check in online ahead of time is if there's ever any like weather reasons that they like weight limit the flight, and this absolutely happens, they will often look at who checked in first and who checked in last to decide who actually gets on the plane or not if they can't take everybody on the plane. So I would encourage you to check in online ahead of time, just to make sure you're covered in that perspective. And yes, I have had that experience where I didn't check in online and I was flying out of Key West, Florida. I checked in at the airport. I was the last person to check in, and so they're like, well, you're one of the people who doesn't get on the plane. You can take the next flight 3 hours later. I'm like, all right, well, in that case. Okay, now, when you get to the airport flying United Airlines, if you didn't check in online, then you would check in at one of these kiosks like this, or even if you checked in online and you want to print your boarding pass or you want to do extra things like check bags and that, you will do them from the kiosks. Unless you're traveling in a premium cabin or you've purchased Premier Access, in that case, there's a separate line for you that you often won't have to use the kiosks and you can go talk to a live human. But if you've bought an economy ticket, like most of us have, then you're going to be using these things to begin your journey. You use a credit card, your Mileageplus card, your passport. You can scan your boarding document if you have it in the United app, or you can enter your confirmation or e-ticket number to get into the thing and check your bags. You can check your bags here. If you check your bags online, they will cost you $5 less per bag if you prepay for your bags, checking them in online. Okay, so then after you finish your stuff on the kiosk, you'll need to check your bags. So you'll need to go up to one of the baggage counters and you'll need to check your bags. Note that there is some timing to check your bags, and it depends on the airport what that cutoff is. It can range from like 45 minutes to 90 minutes. So take a look at the airport that you're going into to see what the baggage check-in cutoff is, and then plan ahead accordingly. If you're carrying on, you don't need to worry about that. You can just go through. Okay. Some airports will also have curbside check-in. This is often known as SkyCap service, where there will be somebody like at the curb who will offer to check you in. Note that if you're an airport that does this, you're generally going to pay more for using the curbside check-in process. There will either be like a per bag charge to do it, standard charge, or they might just be asking you for generous tips. So if you don't want to spend any extra money, do beware of the people at the curb who are going to help you check in. Okay, just some other tips that I want to share with you before we get to the United Club about checking in at the airport is there are also minimum check-in times. Like if you haven't checked in, say 30 minutes before the flight, they might just assume you're not coming. Another reason why you want to check in online ahead of time to make sure that you're absolutely checked in. International flights, that is often 60 minutes before departure. Even if you're not checking bags, you got to be checked in 60 minutes before you go. If you check in on the app and you're checking bags and you prepaid for bags, then some airports will have this sign that calls bag drop shortcut, and in that case you can stand in a different line and sometimes it's faster. If you are a Mileageplus member or you've purchased premium cabin tickets, then look for the signs that say Premier Access and go to those lines for the shorter lines to get up and see people. Okay. Larry reminds everyone, if you're enjoying this video, please hit the like button. It really helps me out with the YouTube algorithm because it lets YouTube know that you're enjoying this video so they can share it with more people. I see we have 134 people watching live and 39 likes, so please give it a like if you haven't already. Same thing if you're watching the archive. I would really appreciate the thumbs up. Thank you so much. Okay, and I see that number going up already, so thank you for the people that are hitting that like button. Gold star and a thumbs up for you. Okay, let's talk about United's airport lounges. The United has two types of lounges. Their basic lounge is the United Club. They have 45 locations worldwide in airports that are served by United Airlines. How do you get into the United Club? There's a few different ways to get into United Club. One is you can purchase an annual membership to get into United Club. It is $750 for an annual membership for an individual person. You can get the all access membership, which basically includes you, two guests, and access to Star Alliance lounges. That one costs $1,400 a year. You can also use miles to redeem for these things. 94,000 miles for the individual or 175,000 for the family one. You can also get access to the lounges if you have one of the United co-brand credit cards, which for people who are eligible to get these credit cards, meaning they're based in the US, so they can open one. That is often a cheaper way to get into the lounge because the annual fee for these credit cards are often cheaper than just buying the United Club membership outright. If you are flying in a premium cabin, and by premium, that's like business, or on long-haul international flights, will receive access to United Clubs at your departure and connecting airport. In addition to the United Club, I mentioned there's two types of lounges. There's also a United Polaris lounge. The United Polaris lounge is a nicer lounge, and it's specifically for people who have booked those premium tickets to far off destinations. So if you're at a place like LAX that has both of those lounges and you've booked long haul business lie flat seats, go to the Polaris lounge. It's not just going to be cheese and crackers as the food on offer. It's going to be food that you can like order off a menu and actually sit in a dining room. You can also get into the United lounges if you have Mileageplus Premier Gold status or higher, and you're flying on a same-day international flight operated by United or a Star Alliance member airline. So again, if you're flying like ANA to Japan, you could get into the United Club because you have that tier level and then you're flying on a Star Alliance airline. You can do it vice versa too. If you're flying United and you're going internationally and there's the ANA lounge there, which is Star Alliance lounge, then you'll be able to get into that lounge. You can also buy one-time United Club passes to get into the United Club. They are $59. Also, if you have Air Canada Maple Leaf Club membership, that'll also get you into the United Club. What do you get when you go into the lounge? You get some more comfortable seating, perhaps, than is at the gate. You'll get some complimentary food and beverages. Think light snacks, non-alcoholic drinks, coffee, tea, some light selection of alcoholic beverages. Some clubs in the United Network do offer better food than in others. They'll have Wi-Fi internet access, power outlets, business centers at some location, restrooms. Sometimes you might even find showers and customer service agents. We're going to talk more about the benefit of those customer service agents when we get to missed connections. Finally, I said there were two main types of lounges, United Club lounges and United Polaris lounges. There's a third type of lounge that they've opened called the United Club Fly. And there's one in Denver, and they're planning one for Houston. United Club Fly is a grab-and-go type lounge that basically you just go in, you grab your stuff, it's all designed to go, and then you can eat it on your flight or wherever in the airport that you want to. Generally, otherwise, the food or drink that you get in the lounge is generally assumed for you to be consuming in the lounge and not really taking with you to go. Okay, the ninth thing to know before you fly United Airlines is about the boarding process. But before I do that, I want to drink and take a few more comments from the chat. What's Chris drinking today? Chris today is drinking this Zevia Zero Sugar Tea, peach flavored sweetened black tea. What do we think about this? It contains 0% juice. Which means that it has a really, really artificial peach flavor. I do not think I will do that. I do not think I will do that Zevia tea again. This video is clearly not sponsored by Zevia tea. Okay, and Jonathan says, how do the lounges differ? Well, the one thing I think I talked about the difference in the United Club, much more basic. The Polaris lounge, just much more fancy, better selection of food, better seating, more quiet, more showers, more nap pods. If you have access to Star Alliance lounges, like if you're in an airport where there's United Club, and you can also get into the ANA lounge, or you can also get into the Singapore Airlines lounge, do that. Go into those lounges. The Asian carrier lounges generally are going to be nicer than the United lounge. also at LAX airport. I really like the Star Alliance Lounge in the international terminal at LAX. It's literally what's called. It's called the Star Alliance Lounge. And so if I am on a journey where I have United access, I do not pay for the monthly or yearly membership. I do not have the United co-brand credit card, but at 1,000,000 miles, I have lifetime Premier Gold or Star Alliance Gold status, so I get access to the lounges when I'm on international journeys. And then between the two, I will, if I have the time, I will walk over to the international terminal and go to the Star Alliance Lounge instead of going to the United Club that's in the United terminal because it's nicer. There's Larry says, I like the Capital One lounges for how they provide bags for people to grab some snacks for the plane. I really enjoy the Capital One lounges as well, Larry. Okay. Some mail says, I have no interest in United as I'm based out of Asia and a Cathay Pacific status member, but here for the support of Yellow Productions. Some mail, thank you very much for your support. All right, maybe you'll have some interest in the other side. You don't fly United, but you can hear about another airline works that you don't regularly fly. Okay, let's talk about the experience boarding United Airlines. Boarding on United, like many other airlines around the world, they board by groups. When you get your boarding pass, you're assigned a boarding number. The numbers are boarding group 1 up to 5, I think. 6. Sorry. 6 is the basic economy boarding group. There's actually 7 boarding groups. Chris, you just said 1 through 6. What's the 7th boarding group? The 7th boarding group is the pre-boarding group. And so actually in this picture right here, you can see, well, you can't really see, but there's a sign that says pre-board, and then there's a sign that says number 2. So at the airports, they will often have little signs with numbers by the boarding gate. Those tell you where you should line up if you're in a specific group. What I will often tell you is that the boarding groups for 1 and 2, the lines often have a tendency to kind of like merge together. So if you are in boarding group 1, try to make sure you didn't end up standing in the boarding group 2 line. And you're like, why isn't this moving? And it turns out your line has already gone on the plane and you're not going anywhere. So before boarding group 1, they do pre-boarding, which includes global services, Uber elite passengers, people who need more time. Then they do boarding group 1, which is people who have booked premium cabins like United Business, Polaris, the lie flat seats, United First Class. If you have a certain Star Alliance Gold tier elite membership, then you'll board in group 1 as well. Boarding in group 2, people who have purchased priority boarding, board in group 2. People who have certain United co-brand credit cards that get better boarding, board in group 2. And then boarding in group 3 through 5 are passengers in the economy cabin. Group 3 is people with window seats and exit row seats. Group 4, middle seats. Group 5, aisle seats. That's what they say. Does it work out like that in practice? Sometimes it's front to back. Sometimes it's these things. Anyway, group 6, the last to board, these are going to be the passengers with basic economy tickets. Who do not have elite status or an eligible credit card. If you book a basic economy ticket and you have elite status, then you get to board in the group that you're assigned. But if you've got nothing and you booked one of those things, you're going to be boarding last because they don't allow you to bring any carry-on bags for the overhead bin if you've booked basic economy, and that's how they enforce it because you're boarding at the end and they'll confiscate it, not let you bring it on board. C. Low says, does United let families with babies, young children board first? They absolutely do. There's a pre-boarding with families with young children. We've absolutely taken advantage of that. Great benefit if you're traveling with families. So yes, the pre-boarding call is customers with disabilities, unaccompanied minors, active members of the U.S. military, families traveling with children age 2 and younger, United Global Service members, and then Premier 1K members. Those are all the people who board before boarding group 1. And then they call the other things. You scan your boarding pass, and then you go on. Okay. My couple of just pro tips for boarding is definitely, you can kind of like if you're going like, should I bring my bag on? Should I check it? What should I do with it? Take a look at what your boarding group is. If you're in one of the last boarding groups, there might not be space. But that is one of the reasons why a lot of people are the gate lice, where they hang around the gate, and as soon as they call the group, they try to get in line for the group so they can at least be in the front of it, so that they have a higher percentage chance of getting their stuff in the overhead bin. And yes, if you have families with young children, definitely take advantage of that pre-boarding option. Okay. Jonathan says, families sitting in the same row. If your family is on the same reservation, if you're all on one reservation, you will get one boarding group for your whole reservation. So no, you won't get separated into different boarding groups. Okay. And then Esther says she's always stuck in the middle seats. Esther, what did you do to United Airlines that you're always stuck in the middle seats? What happened? What happened to you? All right. Traveling Fool says, I hate flying, but when I do, I go as cheap as possible, which is so cheap. Thankfully, every plane ride has not been eventful. I will need to fly to Europe this year. I am happy to hear that they've been uneventful for you. Justin Thomas says, I flew to Vegas last week in boarding group 5. It was sold out, so I purchased Premier Access at the gate. Didn't want to check my bag. Great, Justin. See, so there's another thing you can do. If you get in that boarding group 5, then you can purchase the earlier boarding Premier Access so that you can get on the plane earlier. So awesome suggestion. Okay. Let's talk about the 10th thing you need to know before you fly United, which is the onboard food. So there was a question earlier about the food. And food onboard United really varies based upon your class of service that you've booked, the type of plane that you're flying on, the length of flight, whether it's international versus domestic. There's a lot of different food catering options. In general, basic drinks, basic soda, water, juices are served on most flights that are over 1 hour in length. If the flight's too short, they just don't even have time to give you any drinks. Like if you're going from Denver to Colorado Springs, it's like a 37-minute flight, so no drinks for you on that flight. Sometimes due to weather, they also won't serve you drinks because they push a cart down the aisle to serve drinks, and so if it's really rocking around, it's just not safe to do that. If you are on longer flights, like you're going on a flight that's 5 or 6 hours, then you will get multiple drink services throughout the flight. United will generally give you the whole can if you ask for it. Like if you want a can of Coke or this and that, you can say, hey, can I get the whole can? They'll generally be able to give you the whole can. In addition to those flights that are short, they'll often serve a snack like some pretzels or something like that to go along with the soda. Do be aware of flights that are marked as United flights but are regional flights that are operated by one of United's regional partners like SkyWest. Often on those little planes, there's going to be nothing. And we haven't got to carry-on luggage yet, but we will. When we do get to those, you won't be able to like bring your rollerboards on some of those little planes. United has had like a big effort to actually like get rid of a lot of their regional planes and upsize them to like real jets. So that is a pro. I don't really like the I don't really like the tiny propeller planes, frankly. Okay. So moving on up from the little 1 hour flights to longer flights, food, like actual hot and cold food, is generally available for purchase on domestic flights that are over 3 hours in length. Domestic being flights within North America. If the flight technically is not over 3 hours, technically they measure it by distance. It has to be over 1,190 miles for them to serve hot food. Earlier, when I showed you when you were looking at the flights and you were looking at detail, you can see exactly what's offered on that flight, whether it's actual food, meaning meals, or whether it is snacks for purchase. If it's snacks, then it's just things like chips. If it's food, then, there's actually breakfast and lunch. Breakfast is served 5 a.m. to 9:59 a.m. Yes, 9:59 a.m. If you have a 10 a.m. departure, then you'll be served lunch. Lunch is served from 10 a.m. to 8:59 p.m. There you go. What about later? Then you're on a red-eye flight. If you're from 9 to 5 in the morning, in that case, they're likely not going to serve you any food. Bring your own food on board because they figure most people are just going to get on the plane and go to sleep. The food varies by region. So US to Latin America will have one menu. US to Asia will have another menu over here. US to Europe will have a different menu. This is the food in probably in business class. In business class on the way to Japan out of LA, something like that. I think that's what we're looking at right here. So if you are in business class, then you're just going to get meals. If you're on an international flight in economy, you'll get meals served to you as well. If it's a short flight, you'll get one meal. If it's a long flight, you'll get two meals. If it's a really long flight, you'll get two meals and a snack. So like LA to Australia, you'll get a meal, a snack, like a sandwich, and then you'll generally get breakfast before you arrive. In Business Polaris, they're fancier seating on the long-haul international flights. The food generally comes in actual like dishes. You can, if you don't want it to take a long time, you can ask for the executive option, and in that case, they will bring you all of your food on a single tray all at once, so you can just eat it right away and then like go to sleep if that's what you want to do. If you are on a flight where you have to buy food, meaning you're not then in business class, note that United does not take any money on board the plane. They don't take cash. They don't take credit cards on the plane. To pay for your food, you have to have registered your credit card in the United app on your phone or on the United website before you go. And then when you're on the plane, you just tell them you want to buy it, and then they charge your credit card that they've registered to you and your seat and your ticket. Be mindful of that. Do that at a time if you think you want to actually buy anything. All right. Next up, we're going to go to Inflight Entertainment, but before we do that, let's hit here into the chat. What's the best meal you've been served? Yeah, I mean, the food in Polaris class is generally pretty good. Maybe like the filet mignon or some sort of steak. I think it's probably the best I've had on United Airlines. If you say, Chris, what is your favorite food of all on any airline? It's definitely going to be on Singapore Airlines. Okay. College Full of Love says, I'm too cheap to buy the food on the plane, but I'm all about the free snacks and drinks. There you go, free snacks and drinks. By the way, if you do find yourself buying a lot of food on board the plane, a couple of the United co-branded credit cards do offer like discounts of maybe like 20-25% on food and beverages on board. Food and beverages on board generally cost you somewhere between $8 to $12. That'd be the food, and that'd be beer and wine. Again, the basic sodas are free on every flight. Justin says, that explains why I got my rum and coke for free last week. She was too busy to care. Yeah, they said if you didn't register your credit card or things like that, then maybe they're just like, whatever. Here you go. I don't want to deal with this. Gailey says, when you paid for economy, but they ran out of economy seats when you checked in, do they make you pay more for premium economy? No. If you've booked a economy, like in a regular economy seat, and United will absolutely overbook. They'll book more knowing that they've got these other premium seats, hoping that other people will buy them. But if nobody bought them and they need to seat you, then yes, they'll seat you in one of the open, not premium economy seats, but they will seat you in one of the, what's the word I'm looking for? They'll seat you into one of the, maybe more legroom seats. Before they would put you in premium economy, they would likely upgrade an elite member to premium economy before they put you in it. I had this happen to me when? What was I flying? Where was I going? I was going to Australia. I think my last trip to Sydney, Australia, I'm waiting to board. Then I hear them, like 2 minutes before boarding, I hear them say, Mr. Rainey, can you, please come to the desk. I'm like, oh, okay, I go up to the desk, and they printed a new boarding pass for me, and they say, would you mind taking this seat for us instead? And I go and say, oh, is it also an aisle seat? And they're like, yes, but it's an aisle seat in business class. Like, sweet, thank you very much. But that's probably a case where they needed an extra seat in economy, and so then they just upgraded me to business class as a premium member, and then they put somebody else in that economy seat in the back. Okay. Chris says, I'm on a flight to Osaka. I was in Premium Economy, and then they bumped us up to Polaris because a family wanted our row. My wife and son and I up to the lie flat seats. Nice. Awesome, Chris. Yes, that's the best when you get those seats and you didn't actually have to pay for it. Timber Ridge says, aisle seat gang. I am definitely part of the aisle seat gang. I love my aisle seats. Aisle seat for life. There we go. I was traveling solo on that one. Yes, I would not leave my family back in economy. Okay. Okay, let's go here. Let's talk about in-flight entertainment. So, in-flight entertainment on United, just like the food, can vary greatly depending upon where you're going, how long the flight is, what kind of plane you're on, how new the plane is, how old the plane is, what class of service that you're in. If you are on domestic flights, like the bare minimum entertainment on United is this. What's this? This is their United Wi-Fi. They call this like your personal device entertainment, which means there's no screens, just on your phone or your tablet. You go to unitedwifi.com and then you can stream movies or entertainment or TV shows or songs from their website. On former continental planes, some of them still have direct TV on the plane. So you get like satellite TV, you get a little television at your seat that you can change the channels on so you can watch live TV. In that case, nothing's recorded. You're just watching the direct TV live stream. Those old planes still have credit card readers that back in the day you could swipe to watch the movies. Now everything's free. They don't have you pay anything to watch the movies if you're on one of those planes. I didn't put the picture of it there. All right. Well, if you are on a long haul international flight, it's pretty good. There's pretty big screens. It's pretty modern. There's a lot of movies. And the better screens, the higher the class. So, between economy, premium economy, and the Polaris business, the screens just get bigger and brighter. The movies will be the same on the whole plane. You don't get any better movies just because you're sitting in front. And Jonathan says, I miss JetBlue. They have live TV on board. All right. And Funalicious says, I will trade you aisle for window anytime. Anytime. Okay. Remy asks, which United credit card do you have? I have the United Quest credit card. All right. Let's talk about luggage. Let's talk about carrying on luggage, and then we'll talk about checking in luggage. So you can generally carry on 2 things on a United flight, assuming you didn't book a basic economy ticket. If you've booked any other ticket, you get to carry on 2 things. You get to carry 1 big item and 1 personal item. The big item is something you could put in the overhead bin. It needs to be less than 9 inches by 14 inches by 22 inches. In centimeters, that's 23 centimeters, 35 centimeters, and 56 centimeters. That measurement includes the handles and the wheels. If you're flying basic economy, you don't get to bring one of those. You don't get to put anything in the overhead bin. United is not known for being particularly aggressive enforcing the bag sizing. They're not particularly known for forcing Spirit Airlines is known for this. The discount carriers are known for this, to be like, you got to put in the bag sizer. United's only going to do that if your bag is obscenely oversized. And in practice, the overhead bins are a little larger than the minimum size. So I've got suitcases that are not 22 inches, including the wheels and handles, but are 22 inches just the body and are more with the wheels and the handles, but they still fit on the plane just fine. You get 1 personal item. The personal item is something that needs to fit under the seat in front of you. 9 by 10 by 17 is what they say. Again, they don't have a personal item bag sizer. They only have a overhead bin bag sizer. That's just kind of they use their eyes to decide whether you've got 2 things. I've actually never in my travels seen someone called out for having two rollerboards. Probably because nobody ever brings 2 rollerboards. They just know that they can't. Now, the exception to this 2-item rule on the plane is anything you've bought in the airport. If you've bought stuff at the airport, you can bring that on board too. Food, duty-free stuff, this and that. I assume the exception here is probably if you've bought a suitcase at the airport. You probably can't bring that on too. I don't know. I've never tried that. Okay, a few tips about bringing your carry-on luggage on board. For me, if I have 2 items, and this might be a set of, if I'm traveling internationally, Chris, what suitcases do you know? I have a lot of suitcases. A lot of suitcases. If I am traveling Europe internationally, not just on United, but if I'm going on like other carriers where they have like a smaller carry-on size, I have this Rimowa international European sized carry-on. If I'm traveling domestically, then I'll have my level 8 case, or I'll have my Carl Friedrich case. These things are 22 inches and they're much bigger. They fit just fine. My backpack, I generally travel with this JanSport Odyssey 39 liter backpack. Okay, so I'll go on the plane. I'll put the suitcase in the overhead bin. I'll put my backpack under my seat because I'm in team aisle seat. I'll be sitting there and I'll be watching the overhead bin space. I'll be paying attention to when they're done boarding, the plane. Like everybody's boarded. I see them closing the door. I hear them call all boarding completed. I see the seatbelt sign pop up. I see them start to close the overhead bins. I will take my backpack from under my seat, and if there's a space available nearby in the overhead, then I'll put up there. Not a big deal, right? Nobody was using that space. Clothing that you wear also doesn't have to be in the bag. So if you're going to some winter destination, wear that jacket on board. They will generally ask you not to stick it in the overhead bins right away, but once everybody's boarded, go ahead and take that jacket, shove it in the overhead bin. You can also bring on board umbrellas and cameras. Those don't have to fit in your suitcase. You can also bring kiddie gear on board, like a car seat or a stroller. If you are going to use the car seat on board, meaning you're going to use it on the plane, it needs to be an FAA approved car seat. This one is the Uppa Baby Mesa car seat. It is FAA approved, and then we bring it on board. We strap it in with the seat belt. The crew actually like looks at it, like they know to do this. They're like, "Oh, is that car seat FAA approved?" Now, sometimes I brought on board and not use it, and in that case, I'm like, I'm not going to use it. I'm just putting it in the overhead bin. And they're like, "Oh, okay, fine." But after about the age of 2, we wouldn't use the car seat anymore for the Curious Princess. And so what we would generally do is we would gate check them. To gate check any kiddie items on United, you do that at the gate. You don't need to do that when you check in your bags at the main ticketing thing. It doesn't hurt to tell them if you want to. Different international airports might be different, but domestically within the USA, you bring your baby gear, if you want to do it this way, you bring it through the airport to the gate, and then you go to the gate agent and you say, "Hey, I'd like to gate check this car seat and this stroller." You can do 2, one of each, a car seat and a stroller. They'll give you a special bag tag for it. You can see this little pink tag on this. You drop it off on the jet bridge. They bring it back to you right there. I like to do it this way. You can also check these things in for free, and they don't count towards your baggage allotment either as baby gear. But if you're checking it in and it's going through all of the airport machinery, much higher probability it's going to be broken, and if not broken, filthy from going through all that stuff. Now that the Curious Princess is 5 years old, we just travel with one of these backless booster seats. We carry it on, and then we put it in the overhead bin. Okay. My last tip about carry-on luggage, and then we'll get to check-in luggage, is if you have a high-value item like a musical instrument, you can actually buy a seat for it. So it generally needs to be less than 165 pounds, and it needs to be in some kind of package of some sort. It doesn't just have to be a musical instrument. It can just be some big thing you want to bring on the plane. You can absolutely buy a big ticket for a thing on the plane. Okay. Let's talk about check-in luggage now, which I wanted this picture for check-in luggage. Okay, so if you're checking in luggage, there are fees generally, unless you're an elite member, you've earned elite status. The fees vary depending upon your destination. Flying within North America, the first bag fee is $40, and the second bag fee is $50. It is $5 less if you prepay online. But if you're going to some place like from the USA to London, it is $0 for the first bag, and it's $100 for the second bag, unless you're in basic economy. If you're in basic economy, then the first check bag isn't free, it's $75. If you're flying from the USA to Japan, your first and second checked bags are free in economy. If you're in basic economy, your first bag's free, your second bag's $100. It used to be much more standard. Now it's kind of all over the place. So you just need to look at their website or look at the tickets when you book it to make sense of that. The weight limit, 50 pounds in economy, 70 pounds in business. If you have higher status with the airline, you will also get that 70-pound limit applied to you in an economy ticket. There is some maximum size of a suitcase that can be checked before it's considered oversized, and then you pay an oversized fee. The exception to the sizing is certain sporting goods, snowboards, golf clubs, etc. They have a whole list on their website about if you have one of these sporting goods type things, it's considered a suitcase, and then you don't actually pay an oversized fee, provided that you check it in the way they say to, in the kind of bag that they say to. Okay. Now, it might happen that your luggage gets lost. What do you do if your luggage gets lost? If your luggage gets lost, if your luggage doesn't show up at the destination, the first thing you should do is you check the United app. The app actually has something that'll tell you where your last luggage was seen, where it was last scanned. That's pretty handy. But if where it was scanned is not the airport that you're at when you arrived, then visit the baggage services office in the baggage claim of the airport and say, hey, you haven't found my bag. If they don't know where it is, then you file a claim. Sometimes you just make it on that flight because you had like a quick connection. It's coming on the next one. Other times they have no idea it is and it's lost. If it does show up at your destination, sometimes they'll deliver it to you. If you're staying in like the same city as the airport, if you're going sometimes far away, then you might need to actually come back to the airport to get it. My tip for you to help avoid yourself with lost luggage: one, put an air tag in all of your checked bags. We do that now because then we can see where it is. And I had this experience. I forget what airport I was going into. I was going to so many airports, but I was going into some airport where they were like, yeah, all the bags are here. And I'm like, well, my bag's not here. They were like, oh, well, I don't know, man. And I looked on my iPad, and I saw that my AirTag did arrive at this airport. So I'm like, well, it's at this airport at least. And then it turned out it was on like a different carousel, right? It didn't, for whatever reason, didn't come on mine, but I at least knew it was at this airport. That's different than it went to Paris, and I wasn't going to Paris. Okay. Tip number 2 is avoid connections. One of the biggest ways to lose luggage is when you're connecting between flights, because it's got to get off one flight, it's got to go across the airport, it's got to go to another flight. Falls off the cart getting there, it's late. So connections are a great way to lose your luggage. Short connections are an even greater way to lose your luggage. So be careful for that. Also, avoid changing airlines on a connection. I mean, are you really going to avoid changing airlines if that's what you need to do? No, but I will tell you, I am one who's had my luggage lost more times than many because I've flown a lot. And like, when have I had them lost? I've never had my luggage lost on direct flights. They've only been lost on connections. They've been lost on short connections. They've been lost in connections with severe weather. They've been lost when I've been changing airlines on a connection. So there we go. In the chat, Outlier Gardener dropped in a emoji with a cool suitcase. Thank you for your support, Outlier Gardener. Tiger and Gooner says, what's the minimum changeover you've done? I mean, I've done 45-minute connections, but I wouldn't recommend it. I really wouldn't recommend. Not if you want to get where you're going. Only a 45-minute connection if you're like connecting in an airport that has like 5 more flights every hour to the same place, and you don't really care if you miss it, and you're carrying on only. Like, as soon as I'm checking luggage, I really don't want to misconnect because... Or I don't want to have a quick connection because then like, I'm going to make it, but is my luggage going to make it? And I don't really want to make it if my luggage isn't going to make it. I'd really like to get there with those 2 things at the same time. Kathy, so this is another thing that happens. We missed our flight from San Francisco to Seattle. Bags went without us. We had to fly to Oakland later. We had to travel around to get our luggage. Annoying. Yeah, that's awful. Sorry, Kathy, that they wouldn't deliver that to you. Right. But that's the thing about this can happen. So it's interesting, right? Like, they missed their connection, but the bags didn't miss the connection. So the bags got there, but the bags got to a different airport than they flew to, right? So they had to go back and get the bags. All right. Justin says, was flying Los Angeles to Honolulu to Sydney. American Airlines decided to send my bag to Phoenix instead of giving it to Qantas. That was nice of them, wasn't it? Wasn't it, Justin? Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. All right. Sir Nate says another great way to not lose your luggage is just to drive. There you go, Sir Nate. Han does not like the design of some of the United seats. They say the angle design makes it uncomfortable, hard to breathe. Have you experienced that? Han, I can't say I have, but everybody has kind of a different body composition. So there we go. Okay, Alex has been a channel member for the last 22 months. So Alex, thank you so much for your support. Chris B8 says, we had a European trip that started in Copenhagen. British Airlines lost our luggage. The hotel went to the airport to get our luggage the day of our departure by train to Hamburg. Scary. Luckily, just in time, right? Just in time. It was nice that the hotel was willing to go get it for you. Awesome. Okay. We're coming down to the last few things you need to know right here. Let's talk about missing connection, not just missing your baggage, missing connections. What should you do if you miss your connection? First tip, don't stress out. Doesn't help for you to get stressed out. Be calm, center yourself, focus on what you need to do as opposed to how your life is just going all wrong at this point. Sometimes United will automatically rebook you on another flight. The United app comes in really handy for that, to see if you've been rebooked. It also comes in handy to help you book new onward connections. It may have some suggestions that you can book in the app if that happens, but they might not be the best. Now, if you, just some things to know about your entitlements or not on United. If the missed connection, if you missed the connection due to weather, United will say, well, it's not our fault. We don't really have to do anything for you other than make sure you get on the next available flight onwards to your destination. The next onward flight doesn't have to be that day. It could be the next day. It could be next day. It could be days later. If the missed connection is their fault, meaning like the plane was broken or they didn't have crew available for some reason, United will generally do more for you, including giving you food credits to eat at the airport, giving you hotel vouchers to stay the night, but they're not going to pay for any missed things at your destination. They're not going to pay for your hotel there that you missed. They're not going to pay for the Disneyland tickets that you didn't get to enjoy. That's what travel insurance is for. Okay. Some airports will have travel assistance centers in the secure area of the airport where you can go and see people to get new assistance. Sometimes those might be really busy. Sometimes they might not have people. Sometimes it's a setup like this where they just have kiosks and then they have QR codes that you can scan to talk to somebody in the app. A great place to go to get help if you have some complicated thing, if you have access to the United Club or the Polaris Lounge, is to go there, because the lounges will generally have some really good ticket agents that can help you if you're in like an odd situation and really need to get someplace. If I'm at a small airport which doesn't have a club lounge, doesn't have one of these, and everybody's standing in line at the gate to talk to somebody to get their accommodations, and there'll be a lot of people, then I will go to, I will walk out. I will walk out of security to the front of the airport, ticketing departures, and I'll talk to somebody there. Like the people who are at the need assistance thing, not the kiosks, but there's always some staffed desks that the line is in small airports, generally much shorter there than it is at the ones actually inside the airport. But at the same time, I'll also call United to see if I can get help from them on the phone, maybe while I'm walking there. You never know. Sometimes I might get through United other way. Sometimes it might be a 2-hour wait. In that case, the people at the airport might be more helpful. Okay, I super briefly want to talk about United's award program, and then we'll get into general Q&A. So, Mileageplus is United's reward elite program. You earn 2 sets of currency in Mileageplus. The first thing you earn is what they call PQP, Premier Qualifying Points. This gives you elite status that you get different perks when you fly the airline. You can also earn miles, and the miles you redeem for free flights or upgrades and stuff. You can buy stuff with it. Don't buy stuff. It's always a bad deal to buy stuff. If you want to get the most value out of your miles, redeem your miles for flights or upgrades, and you will generally get the best value out of your miles if you're redeeming for premium cabin tickets. Okay. Talking about the elite status, you will earn these premier qualifying points to get status. You earn 1 premier qualifying point for every US dollar spent on the base airfare and carrier imposed surcharges. You do not earn any premier qualifying points on the taxes on the ticket. You can also earn premier qualifying points from airline spend. And when you've got a bunch of points, these are the different tiers. So to get Premier Silver, you have to fly 15 flights and have spent $5,000 or $6,000. It doesn't matter how many flights you've flown. If you get Premier Silver, then you get 1 free checked bag in economy. You get free access to book Economy Plus. Those are the extra legroom seats at check-in for you plus 1 companion. You will get Group 2 boarding, and you're eligible for free day of departure upgrades. Turns out you'll never get those. You'll never get those as a Premier Silver member, and then you will earn 7x the amount of miles on every flight. The Premier Gold status is at 30 flights and $10,000 spent. Then you get 2 free check bags in economy. You get free access to book those Economy Plus seats, the extra legroom seats, at booking time when you book a flight for you and 1 companion. You get Group 1 boarding. You get upgrades 48 hours before the flight, and you earn more miles. Premier Platinum is at $15,000 spent in 45 flights. You get 3 free check bags, access to Economy Plus at booking for you and 8 people, so big families, Group 1 boarding, earlier upgrades. You earn these plus points that you can then use for redeeming upgrades on international flights, and if you're Premier 1K, then you get access to that like super early boarding, and you get upgraded earlier, and you get more plus points to upgrade more international flights. Okay, finally, let's talk about redeeming miles for awards for tickets. So these are the ones that you earn, the currency that you can redeem. This is an award chart on a month. These are the cost of a one-way award ticket from Los Angeles to Denver. And you can see it varies. On some cheapest days, it's 7,000 miles. On more expensive days, it's 15,000 miles. So a round trip could be 15,000 miles, or it could be 30,000 miles. If you're going from Los Angeles to if you're going from Los Angeles to Sydney in April to May, the lowest price was 55,000 miles one way, and the most expensive was 125,000 one way. These are for economy tickets, and you can see if you book an award ticket, you still have to pay taxes. Premium class is where you get the most value. You can see here from LAX to Sydney, it's $55K to book an economy ticket, or it's 100K miles to book a business ticket. But if you were paying for these tickets, like the economy ticket, and obviously these are one-way tickets, but like the one-way economy ticket from LAX to Sydney might be $800. Say it's like $1,600 round trip, but the one-way business class ticket might be $5,000 because round trip it's like $10,000 in business class. So that's where you're going to get the absolute most value. Note, you don't just have to use your United miles to book United flights. You can use your United miles to book awards on any Star Alliance carrier. Also, double note is that the United website only shows some partner availability. It doesn't show all of them. So if you call United Airlines to book award tickets, you might be able to book more partner flights than you can see on their website. All right, fellow explorers, that is everything you need to know about flying United Airlines. If you've got a question and I didn't answer it, now is the time to ask.
Fellow explorers, it is now Q&A time. If you've got a question, I've got an answer.
Some mail says, which status tier gives you lounge access? The status tier that gives you lounge access is the Premier Gold status tier that will give you lounge access if you are on international flights. There is no status tier that gives you lounge access on domestic flights. Alex says, what's my favorite trip or experience on United? My favorite experience on United was when my mom and we were flying to Hong Kong. We had redeemed miles for United First. So not Polaris, but this is when they had actual first class. They still had international first class. I used a lot of miles to book first class to Hong Kong. We were connecting in San Francisco. We were like, fog. Flight was delayed into San Francisco. We land in San Francisco. I'm like, there's no way we're gonna make it. But standing at we landed, and as we get off the plane, there's somebody wearing a suit, and they have a sign that says Mr. Chris Rainey. And I say, oh, that's me. And they say, oh, Mr. Rainey, I am here to escort you to the flight to Hong Kong. Because you're in first class, we are holding the plane for you. So please follow me, and I will take you to the plane. And this person walked us through the airport. Really an amazing personal experience to know that we didn't have to run. We weren't going to miss it. Like, we were going to get there because they were going to get us there. And then finally, when we were on the plane, I feel like we were the only couple people in that international first class. Flight attendants were super helpful, told us all these great places to eat and things to do in Hong Kong. And it was the type of flight where they still made your bed, So when you're like, I'm ready to go to sleep, they're like, cool, we'll come out and make your bed for you. So that was a great experience. Okay. PH says, what's your experience getting upgrades using plus points? You still need to get a certain tier of economy ticket to upgrade. Yes, and I mean, this becomes like your upgrade chances are, the higher the fare class and economy you booked, the higher your upgrade chance, the higher your status is. When I have had 1K status in the past, I've gotten a lot of upgrades. At my current Premier Gold level, I don't get nearly as many. That girl, Maj, says, when I lived in D.C., I ran into a friend who happened to be in charge of United customer service, flew me first class home. It was very nice of them. Daniel says, how friendly is United in regards to upgrading class of service after purchasing a ticket? Super, super easy. You can do it all online. Super easy. Yeah, there's some airlines that make it really hard, but United's really easy. Someone else says, I need to fly JFK to LAX, want to avoid the headache of flying economy. Which carrier business class do you recommend? Well, I think if you're flying JFK to LAX, you probably don't have a ton of choices. I think you've got American and JetBlue maybe as the ones that fly. I don't know. I feel like JetBlue has a pretty nice business class experience for reasonably priced tickets. Valerian the Max is when you're videoing on the plane for your YouTube reviews, have they ever moved you to first class? No, they never have. They're not like, you're the YouTuber, come on up here. Yeah, not so much. But they do recognize me sometimes. The flight attendants sometimes recognize me. The check-in agents recognize me. On Singapore Airlines, when I was flying business class on Singapore, one of the business class flight attendants recognized me and offered to take a picture of me in my business class seat, which made the picture for that Singapore Airlines business class review video. So that worked out pretty well. Remy says, how do the United lounges compare to general credit card lounges like Centurion, Sapphire, and Capital One? Food-wise, the food in the standard United Club is worse than in the Centurion, Sapphire, and Capital One lounges. The crowd levels are better in the United lounges. They're generally not as busy. Yet there's rarely ever lines to get into the United lounges. You usually just get in. That's the problem with the credit card lounges. Half of them you can never get into. The United Polaris Lounge, really on point, and might even be better than the food at the credit card lounges. Alex says, is 1 million miler mean you get that gold status automatically for life? Yes, I get the Gold status automatically for life for me and and +1, which I've given that to OC Girl as my spouse. Daryl says, probably one of the ways to get flights with free upgrades is to take flights that are weird times. Yeah, the flights that nobody wants. The flights that nobody else is on. Those are the ones where you're going to get the most upgrade. Valerian says 5 stars. Thank you, Valerian. Silent Chaos says flying United next month. First time in a long time. And Grant says, if you weren't around when I made the earlier call to hit the like button, or you're just holding out right now, please do so, because it really helps me out. Thank you so much. We're twice as many as before. We're up to 88 likes. So let's see if we can get that up to 100 if you haven't hit that like button yet.
Yes, it's the time you've been waiting for. It's time for the giveaway.
All right, fellow explorers, in every live stream, I always give away a Yellow Productions Crew shirt to someone who can answer one of my questions. And my question to you is, what are United's 2 busiest hub airports? If you put both of them on the same line in the chat, you'll win that Yellow Productions Crew shirt shipped anywhere in the world to you. If you didn't win one and you want to buy one, you can do so at the Yellow Productions shop. You can pick that up right there. And if you wonder when is the next live stream, definitely sign up for the Yellow Productions email list, the Yellow Productions update, where I'll email you as soon as I have a time and date for my next live stream. All right, let's go ahead and look into the chat to see if we have any answers.
And now we have a winner chicken dinner.
Okay, we have a winner. Congratulations to Alex Jossie, the first one to say Denver and Chicago. There we go. I even put the acronyms right in there. That's how we got it short. So congratulations to Alex. Alex, you know how to get a hold of me. And if you want a different shirt than that one, because I know you've won before, you are welcome to another shirt off the store. Just let me know which one you want. All right, fellow explorers, always great to hang out with you. As usual, I won't say goodbye because I'm going to see you in the next video.